Do the crime, do the time. Once you're in the system, how you get out and you stay out successfully. We'll share some stats on how Montana's prison reforms are working and where there's a struggle.
A Bozeman roundabout well in the works is now causing some new issues for those living nearby.
Well, good morning, Southwest Montana, 6:30 on this Friday. Chet Lehman, Donna Kelly.
Is it Friday already?
It's just
Are you
8,
feeling
9
it?
day long weeks are just
Yeah.
kind of getting there.
Yeah, piecemeal.
Cruising right into 2020, head down, doing our thing.
If you're going to cruise slowly this
there you
morning.
go.
There
All
are
right.
some icy spots out there,
There you go.
especially along Bozeman Pass. Looks a little icy. We're getting some reports of snow and ice out there. So just take it easy. Go slow. Be ready. Temperatures are a little cool. We are seeing some snow along the Bridger Mountain Range. We're seeing some snow on Bridger Mountain early on in the day. There's a chance to see a few flurries for a few areas through the day. I don't think it's going to be problematic overall, but we do have a fast-moving system moving through for your Saturday you'll want to hear about. We'll talk about it coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Matt. 6:31 now. Crime topping our story this half hour. The Missoula Police Department investigating a fatal stabbing that happened last night.
Police say an 18-year-old Ravalli County man died after sustaining injuries from multiple stab wounds. Officers began life-saving measures before he was transported to the hospital, but then later pronounced dead. Police say detectives are still investigating the events leading up to the stabbing and have spoken to witnesses at the scene. They're trying to locate other people who might have been involved. The name of the victim not being released until his family members are contacted.
In other headlines this morning, tomorrow night, the Montana Sheriff and Peace Officers Association hosting a fundraiser to benefit Gallatin County Deputy Jake Allmendinger's family.
Allmendinger was killed in the line of duty in October of 2019. You might remember it was as he was responding to a stranded motorist on Ferry Lake Road. The event will be a casino. They'll have bingo and raffles, and we hear gift cards for fishing trips, restaurants, and rifles, among other prizes. And all those are listed, not all of them, but some of them are listed on the Gallatin County Sheriff's Facebook page.
Also, a percentage of the drinks will also go to support the family. The evening starts 6:45, goes until 10, and it's being held at the Commons, which is at the corner of Baxter and Love Lane. Fundraiser not able to accept credit cards. Please take note of that. Allmendinger, by the way, was 31 years old and is survived by his parents, his wife, and his 3 children.
Montana is more than 2 years into a reform plan of its prison sentencing laws.
Yeah, and those reforms are supposed to slow the growth or reduce the number of people in state prisons or under supervision.
MTN's Mike Dennison has been taking a closer look at how those reforms are unfolding.
Yeah, this morning in a second of his 2-part series, he examines some early data on parolees and probationers.
A key part of the reforms was an overhaul of the State Parole Board, converting it to full-time professional members. Board Chairman Annette Carter says the changes led to a more consistent process, enabling inmates to know what's expected of them to gain parole and to prepare for it.
I believe the board's role is to identify those folks that are ready for parole. Those people that have earned it, that have made behavior changes, and that are going to be successful in the community.
In the new board's first year in 2018, almost 800 inmates gained parole, a 20% increase over the previous year. And the amount of inmates denied parole dropped by about 30% that same year. Yet another number on parolees and criminal offenders on probation is less encouraging. In 2018 and 2019, 2,600 people on parole or probation were sent to prison in Montana, almost half of the system's entire admissions. And 2/3 of those offenders, 1,800 people, were imprisoned because of technical violations of their release terms.
They're not even committing new crimes. They were just breaking the rules of their probation. It still means there are a bunch of issues in the probation and parole system that need to be addressed. We don't need to go backward. We need to do more.
Rossi of the ACLU says the reforms are meant to help people released from prison stay out. But Rossi says the state hasn't funded programs that many ex-cons need to successfully re-enter society. Deputy State Corrections Director Cynthia Wolkin says the state is still in the process of studying and revising how its probation officers supervise parolees and those on probation with suspended sentences.
I think really what's more telling and what we're starting to dig into a little more is, how much time are our officers able to spend with the high-risk people, which are probably around 10% of their caseload.
But one reform meant to reduce the number of low-risk people on supervision and give the officers more time for high-risk clients may not be working as hoped. Low-risk offenders can petition to be released from supervision early if they meet certain goals while out of prison. As of last October, only 58 of the thousands of people on supervision had been released early, and 500 petitions were pending in court. Rossi questions whether it should be a judicial process at all.
Those should be automatic, or it should be up to the probation and parole department to say, yep, you've done it, off you go.
But state officials agreed to the process after hearing concerns in 2018 from prosecutors and judges. So the long and short of these reforms so far? It's a little early to render a verdict, but as I reported yesterday, the overall amount of people in prison in Montana and under supervision hasn't changed much at all. In Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Bit of an update for you now on another story, 6:35. The search will continue at daylight today for a missing 16-year-old woman last seen in the afternoon of New Year's Day.
Bighorn County and the Bureau of Indian Affairs used helicopters, horses, and people on foot to look for Selena Not Afraid. She was last seen at a rest stop area. It was on I-90, where witnesses say that she left a broken down vehicle and took off walking. Sheriff Pete Bighair says that Not Afraid and 5 other people were on their way home from a New Year's Eve party. They stopped at the rest area to fix a mechanical problem. The driver of the van left Not Afraid and another girl behind, and when the driver's mother came to pick up the girls, Not Afraid was missing.
And you can head over to our websites for a photo of what Not Afraid looks like as well. We do have her picture on our website. Right. Meantime, Montana health officials are telling tobacco retailers that they should comply with a new federal law, raise the age to legally purchase tobacco to 21.
President Donald Trump signed the new law on December 20th. The law appears to have taken effect the next day, but the news was not widely distributed until almost a week later. Montana's Department of Public Health and Human Services says that federal compliance checks will happen under the new age requirement, and that the department is awaiting additional guidance from the Food and Drug Administration and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
We're going to head outside for this next story. Brand new roundabout at a busy intersection in Bozeman seems to be falling apart while the city plans to finish it coming up in the spring.
MTN's Cody Boyer has our report.
We anticipate we're going to have some issues throughout the winter.
The sight of orange cone still lingers just off to the side of the Durston-Ferguson roundabout. It's open, but city project engineer Bob Murray says it's not done. In other words, there's a reason why the lens of my camera kept getting dirty.
Some of the gravel was wet when the asphalt was being paved, but it was down to the point in the year where we either needed to pave it or we weren't going to get it done.
The first thing some living nearby say they notice: people not heeding roundabout rules. On top of that, potholes, and they aren't small.
Well, this pothole right here is roughly the size of the width, well, of that car.
There's also a second layer of asphalt that still needs to go on top of what's there now.
Many viewers reached out to us with mixed opinions. On Facebook, one driver claims the pothole there was as big as a small car. Another calls the roundabout an absolute disaster. But there are many others who say they get it. The project is not complete, with one saying he prefers driving 5 miles per hour for 30 feet than detouring half a mile each trip. Murray says the complaints have been heard and the roundabout will be fixed next week.
We notified the contractor about a week ago that he was going to need to get out there and deal with some of the potholes that have shown up.
But until construction can start again, he adds they expect more problems.
It's not complete. There's traffic control up and everything out there is incomplete right now. We might have some more issues as the winter goes on.
In Bozeman, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
Officials say that there will be more signs up at the roundabout in all directions, and permanent street lamps will replace those temporary ones.
Shifting gears just a little bit, now that the holidays are fully wrapped up, you may be feeling emotionally exhausted, to say the least, from hanging out with friends and family.
Really? That's why psychologists are telling people to consider JOMO. It stands for the joy of missing out. That's not a psychological term. Experts tell us that it's a sense of satisfaction of foregoing an activity in order to take care of yourself. Bottom line, it's okay to turn down an invitation if you know it'll cause long-term stress. Experts break down maybe the best way to say nope.
When you get an invitation, I think it's completely appropriate to say, oh, thanks, that sounds really fun. I'm going to need to get back to you. And so by doing that, then you have the time and the space to consider your priorities. And
When making a decision, make sure to consider the long-term effects, like if you tell your in-laws no. And disappoint people too. I mean, you do have to have some of that. So it's a delicate balance, isn't it?
That's why I didn't tell John Shearer no when he invited me to come in this morning, our executive producer.
Right.
I didn't want to hurt his feelings.
Yes, I agree with that.
6:40 now. Yesterday marked the end of the Christmas tradition in downtown Bozeman.
At least until next year,
Yep.
Volunteers from departments ranging from the Bozeman Fire Department, Montana Crane Service, and beyond put the spiders, as some folks call them. We used to call them octopus when I was a kid when they were the octopus. Anyway, spiders up at the beginning of December, but yesterday they took them down.
Yeah, crews had to close down Main Street to finish the job. The spiders, or the octopi, have been a part of Bozeman's tradition for nearly 5 decades, hanging out over 4 Main Street intersections throughout, of course, the holiday season. It is a big part of it.
You bet.
Do love that. How about we take a quick break here, Donna, at 6:40. When we come back, grab your board and hang 10. You get a medal. Really. We'll tell you what other new sports are coming to the Olympics. But first, here's what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, Iran vows revenge after a U.S. airstrike kills one of its top generals. Our experts tell us what was behind President Trump's decision and how this could bring us closer to war. And job seekers, listen up. The application process is changing. We'll explain why you may have to audition with a company before getting an offer. We'll see you at 7.